Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Andrea, and I lead marketing at Reco, and I'm thrilled to have you here for this live demo on the recent AI orchestrated attack and how we can discover and control AI in your SaaS environment. Before we dive in, just want to acknowledge why we're all here. AI has just exploded across your SaaS stack, I'm sure, between Slack assistants, everyone's using Cursor for development. Notion's very popular. Agentforce, ChatGPT is integrating, everywhere. And I'm sure there's dozens of copilots your teams are connecting every day. So AI is truly everywhere. But it's not just standalone AI tools anymore. AI is embedded as well with varying levels of permissions and access to sensitive data. But this, as great as AI is and all the efficiency it brings, it also can bring some problems as well. Most security teams can't answer basic questions around their AI exposure. Which AI tools are actually running in your environment, your organization's environment? What data is it accessing? And within those apps, which one are considered high risk and need to be monitored? And just weeks ago, we all, heard of the GTG-1002 attack. It was the first AI orchestrated cyber attack, and this really proved that autonomous AI threats are real, and this is the new attack surface. And what was interesting about that attack is it operated at 80 to 90% automation, and it hit 30 organizations in 10 days, and there was very minimal human oversight involved as well. So today you're going to see exactly what traditional SaaS security tools miss when it comes to securing AI and SaaS, and how Reco's platform can deliver real-time discovery, automatic classification, and control over every AI tool, copilot, and add-on across your entire SaaS stack. So before we dive in, I just want to kind of explain this demo is going to be a little bit different. We're going to do a red team, blue team. And so that's the attacker versus defender as we talk through this attack. So on my left, virtually speaking, is Ophir Kelman. He is our head of threat detection at Reco, and he's going to walk us through the GTG-1002 style attack. And then Gal, who's going to be playing our blue team, he's going to show us how Reco would catch it. And Gal is our Chief Product Officer and Co-Founder at Reco. So before we kind of dive in, if you have any questions that I'll just drop them in the Q&A, I'll be monitoring them, and we'll definitely get to those at the end. So before we jump in, let's do a quick poll. Those are always good. I just want to get a pulse where everyone's kind of thinking when it comes to AI governance. So if you want to launch that, Gal. Great. So the question is, which AI security challenge concerns you most? So do you have a second to just read the question and select the answer that kind of best fits where you are currently? We'll see where everyone is. Give everyone a few more seconds. Okay, do you want to show the results, Gal?
Yes.
Okay. And very interesting. So a majority of respondents picked the first answer. So not knowing which AI tools are active across our SaaS apps. So that's a huge problem. And we're going to definitely talk about that today. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Ophir and Gal, and they are going to present the webinar.
Thank you very much, Andrea. So hello, my name is Ophir Kelman, and I'm head of threat detection at Reco. And as mentioned, I'm going to play the red side in this webinar. As Andrea mentioned, we're going to talk today about the G2G campaign. And there weren't many technical details revealed on this, so we are not actually going to talk about how the details of what happened, but we do think it's extremely interesting and important campaign to notice, because This takes us from the realm of theoretical and possible attacks to an attack which was actually deployed in practice, which is a very important difference in cybersecurity for cybersecurity practitioners to take notice of. And while we don't know the exact techniques which were implemented in this attack, we're gonna have some examples of possible techniques which might have been implemented. Another thing to take notice of is that there was very little human intervention needed. The scale of the attack was very, very wide, and there were techniques that were revealed by Anthropic in the report. Reconnaissance, initial access, lateral movement. We're gonna go over them later on. You can see in Reco the heat map of the MITRE attack matrix coverage, and this is a helpful tool for us to build our defense program.
Yeah, and I'm Gal. I'm here to share like how Reco can help against those threats, and especially as Ophir said, the scale changed dramatically when you can leverage AI and agents to do like cyber attacks. It's the same as engineering and development change dramatically and accelerate thanks to AI. Same as the cyber attacks, and the MITRE attack coverage can help us to understand the risks and how can we secure and prevent some stuff before they happen. So here.
Cool. So I'd like to, before I start with the first technique of reconnaissance, I'd like to mention that like the general theme is going to be that while we're not going to present any novel techniques here, it is important to say that there's much less luxury now for an organization to have large number of SaaS applications which are externally accessible without strict security configurations and monitoring mechanisms in place. And also much less luxury to have leniency in app permissions and lack of enforcing principles of least privilege. Moving on to the actual technique. So let's talk a little bit about reconnaissance. We're talking about the AI automated campaign. I'm gonna pick a few examples here. So first, let's start with the darknet. So I may have an AI agent which I send to collect data over the dark net. I can even hypothetically assign some budget for him to buy stuff, to buy credentials for organizations which I deem extremely valuable. And he'll do all that for me, and he might even find things that I didn't plan to, and then I can leverage them. So we're talking about useful credentials to use later on in the attack chain. It can be information that I can later use in phishing attacks. So names and addresses, phone numbers, things that I can use in email phishing attacks, including emails or even phone calls, as we've seen in the past, to try and gain the trust of the victim. Very useful too. And also information about the target's infrastructure. Another thing that we can do, let's take a popular service, for example, Okta. I assume that a lot of targets are going to use that service, and I'm going to try to enumerate its subdomains to find which organizations are actually using it. So I can fetch organization names from LinkedIn and then try it against the Okta subdomains. When I get the relevant response, I know I might have a lead here. And all that, no need of human intervention yet. I just build the AI agent, let's say one for the dark net, one for the reconnaissance of LinkedIn, and I feed them into Okta enumeration, and everything is working automatically.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Gal.
yeah, and I think that's exactly a great example for why the risk changed dramatically with AI. Reconnaissance usually takes a long time for threat actors to collect all the information, to analyze the information. Now, when they use Claude or ChatGPT or any AI model that can do the work much faster, instead of hours and days into seconds. And this is why the first thing, if you want to secure against reconnaissance, and by the way, this is why Reco from Reconnaissance, um, you need first to get full visibility into what you have. Like you can secure what you don't know, and especially with SaaS solutions, when you have this sprawl of and proliferation of apps, you need to know all the apps you have, and this is why we're starting the journey of securing the SaaS and securing this estate by analyzing and detect all the apps that you're using, including the shadow AI and shadow apps. So if an employee registered to Cursor, started to use Cursor, upload data to Cursor, using like a model that you didn't approve and you're not aware of, uh, that's where what attackers love, and especially agents, because they can find what you don't know, and this is where they will leverage those backdoors in your org. So starting from understanding what are the apps you have, same as attackers using to enumerate your services to understand what you have. The same we need to do from the defense side, and getting the visibility into all the apps, see what are they connected for, what are the tokens and SaaS-to-SaaS connection. In that example, for example, with Cursor, that's connected to not just for Okta, but also to Google, to Slack, to Linear, to GitHub, and any breach on one of those apps can lead into a breach in the other app, because the SaaS ecosystem, especially with AI, is interconnected, because this is where the value come, and this is why it's important to first discover all the apps, um, and approve them or block the apps from usage, so data will not move to those apps. The way Reco discover all the apps is by leveraging 4 sensors, which are all the IDPs, to discover what apps are in your IDP. An email metadata analysis, we scrape inbound email headers to detect like registration, reset password email, and application, an indicator of application usage. We integrate also to SASE, such as MCAS and Zscaler and network solution, CASBs, and also all the SaaS-to-SaaS connections, all the OWASP connection between apps, everything unified together into our unified graph. And from that unified graph, we can detect those usages and help you to get visibility and understand what are the doors that you need to secure.
Yeah, I totally think that every organization needs to have some sort of tool like that, which discovers the application that he has, how are they connected, finding the bottlenecks. I mean, you can't have an actual incident running through while you are trying to gather around and collect what do you have in the organization and how is it connected. You must have it already automated in system like Reco, and I think it's not a privilege anymore.
So just to do a quick check-in. So you've mapped the environment. Ophir. So now what? Now how do you get in? Walk us through initial access.
So now potentially I've found I have some findings about which services the organization is using, and maybe I have some credentials that I scavenged from external facing repositories or from the darknet, or I got something maybe even brute force, and I got an initial foothold in one of them. So um, I want to mention before I get into the application itself, I don't need to do it manually or even randomly. I can define for my agent to start with what I think has the most success rate and least rate of being detected. For example, if I bought something or I have a set of credentials, it's better to try that before I try my brute force attempt because it's harder to detect. So I can even make my attack even more sophisticated that way. And later on, I can start using all the less valuable information. So as I said, it can even be a token found in external facing repository, and I can adjust the pace of my enumeration. So usually brute force detectors are like trying to find multiple attempts in a short period of time. And if I don't want to risk myself being discovered, which it's important to say usually not the case of automated attacks, but let's say I want to for specific targets, then I can set a pace. I can even try to randomize the intervals a little bit to make it really hard to detect, what you call a low and slow strategy. And yeah, that might provide me with an initial foothold in an application.
Yeah, and this is exactly where you need to start to monitor and checking for some anomalies and violations. So, for example, when self-service password successfully changed by a user from a tool or from a random user agent, those type of monitoring you need to set in place, and you need to monitor all the audit logs and getting visibility into all the activities and build a baseline around each identity. So on each identity, you can see the usual behavior, the locations, the events, the time. Because if you think about an agents are very noisy in compared to human attacker that can be very okay, very low and reduced noise. Here with agents, they try whatever they can in order to penetrate and get the initial access across the board. So having this monitoring and alerting on any violation or on any identity is important. And this is why you need to start by collecting all the accounts into a unified identity and getting the permissions and role. Um, Threat actors will start from probably from admins in order to get privilege access to those SaaS solutions. So ensure less privilege access, ensure you accounts are federated correctly in your IDP, and you don't have local account and you don't have former with access. What usually attackers use are former employees tokens or former employees credentials. So getting those visibilities and baseline across all the accounts across your entire SaaS, the locations of the users, and monitor all the events across all the SaaS is important in order to detect those type of activities, of malicious activities and alerts on the right time when a user, for example, when a change password and immediately after started to download data from your storage, from your Google Drive at the same time, this is an indication for an incident and breach, and this is exactly the patterns that you need to look after in order to secure and monitor your SaaS. And it can be the location, the devices, the user agent, and the IPS, the same as we have seen with the latest Gainsight breach and Salesloft drift, that the attacker use a token in order to penetrate, to exfiltrate all the data from Salesforce.
By the way, Gal, the alert that you've shown just before you got to the actual identity was the self-service password reset, which is also an external-facing service, which can also be enumerated against, and possibly I can manage to maybe change some user's MFA or even reset the password, and then we're in real trouble. Imagine I can do that for, I don't know, three employees, and then the IT needs to start chasing about how does he manage to get back the MFA because the employee doesn't have no longer authority on resetting his own password.
And by the way, this is also where I think this is also an important where the AI agents of Reco of the defense side can help against the agents, and the only way to secure against AI is to use AI. And this is where you can see the story here of a living employee that had a self-service reset and also downloaded files at the same time and this is where the agent analyze the pattern and analyze all the indicators together and find correlations that's really hard for analysts to find, and takes a lot of time. And in the pace of agents, in the pace of AI based attack, you need to analyze the data much more faster than prior. So that's also important to know that on top of the data, on top of the Reco graph, on top of the insight, you get a clear insight by an AI agents that help you to better analyze and investigate any incident or unusual activity.
Cool.
This is where it's really scary, right? So now you have, you have access to the environment, and you can move anywhere once you have access, right? So I remember those SaaS-to-SaaS connections that you were mapping and talking about earlier. So, I mean, what, as the red team Ophir, what are you going to do with now that you have access to that?
Yeah. So exactly as you said, now I'm what in the past was called within the perimeter. Now I'm in the organization, and one of the things the organization leverages is integrations between SaaS applications. It's good for productivity. It's good for us as an organization. But as a red teamer, I'm going to abuse that, and I can have an agent looking for all the possible paths from the point that I'm at now, for example, to all applications that have files or sensitive information. If I want HR data or financial data, I can just have a whitelist of SaaS applications which I have as my destination, and then I let my agent find all the possible paths, which in the past you had to do a lot of groundwork as an attacker to find that. You would need to enumerate a lot of stuff and make the connections, but now, yeah, it might be noisier if I let an agent do it, but because of the speed of it, it might be really hard to catch it, or even I might get the information before I get caught. So within all that hundreds of applications that an organization might have and connections, I can just find the path that I need for the information that I want quite easily. So just to drop an example, it can be Slack that has an auth token to get to Google Drive, which is very classic thing, very common thing to configure in an organization. And once I got permission to Slack, I get immediately access to some of Google Drive files. And yeah, Gal, go ahead.
Yeah, and this is exactly what happened with the sales loft and the threat actor leverage. They always token from an unusual user agent, and we also have the IOCs in Reco, and we detect those anomalies and queries because once the attacker gets the access, once the attacker get the token to those systems, um, they can use AI to write the the code that extract the data from the service. So once I get a credential, I can ask like my AI or cursor to build a code that use this token and start to query the data, exfiltrate the data, and this is why you need also to continuously um, monitor and ensure least privilege access on all the SaaS-to-SaaS connections, like what's connected to your Salesforce, what's connected to your GitHub, and what are the level of permissions. For example, who can open pull request in your GitHub, and what is the level of access? And if it's ChatGPT Codex can do that, or Cursor can do that, and Linear can do that. This when those token might be leaked or leveraged by a threat actor, an agent, they will be able to run all the activities automatically without any human intervention. So continuously monitor that and see all the interconnectivity between apps and see the level of permissions and approve only the permission that needed to your Salesforce or to your Okta or Google is important. And with Reco, you can get all the permissions breakdown for each app. For example, in that case, you can see that Chili Piper has a broad permission, even to view users' PII and manage users, which is quite um, risky if there is a breach on those tokens or attacker can get those credentials and start to leverage them. So um, monitor, normalize, and classify all the permissions and connections, and then alert on malicious activities or any anomaly is important in order to secure against those type of attacks. Because before AI, if I got as a token to Salesforce, a credential to token, I had to learn the Salesforce API. I had to understand how to pull data from Salesforce. Now, if I have an agent and I say, hey, can you write me a Python code that pull all the and export all the data from Salesforce to a CSV, and this is the token I'm going to provide. The AI will write this code to exfiltrate the data, and in 1 minute I can get this information. What this and this is why it's so important to have baseline, because the agent will probably not set the right user agent or the right, or will not do the activities from the same IP. And this is why it's also important in order to prevent those, you also need to configure the apps correctly, all and hardening your configuration if it's a IP allow list or conditional access policies, which important to enforce in order to prevent those type of attacks and type of token leakage. So if you want to be proactive, review the CIS benchmark, the compliance benchmark, the NIST benchmark, and follow those steps and hardening your configuration in SaaS in order to prevent those type of breaches and attacks, which is important as well.
Great. Thank you so much. That was fun to do a red team, blue team kind of analogy there. So let's zoom out for a second. how common are these AI orchestrated attacks becoming? And was the one that was announced a few weeks ago from GTG, was that the first one? Like, how common are these becoming? Ofer, do you have a thought, an opinion on that?
Yeah, so this is obviously just my opinion. I haven't seen evidence of new campaigns, but I think Anthropic really wanted to emphasize that this was meticulously orchestrated and automated, and this is like maybe two steps ahead of a proof of concept. So this is what we caught, meaning there's at least one. I don't want to speculate and say how many there are, but it is safe. It's safe to assume that in the future everything will be at least as sophisticated as that, and this attacker, of course, will learn from its own mistakes, and probably he learned a lot just from trying this campaign and seeing what works and what sticks. And it's going to probably the attacks are going to rely more and more about AI agents. They might not be end-to-end orchestrated like that, but even just orchestrating, having agents for some of the techniques, some of the attack chain parts is highly valuable, and makes it much harder to detect and defend because of the speed, because of the width, because it is hard to um, expect what the agent is going to find. And I want to tie that back to what I said earlier, that um, the security holes are bound to be found now, because the AI is really good at that. So it goes and it enumerates and it checks and it finds what is there to find. So we don't have the luxury of not having sufficient tools to work against it. And as Gal said, best way to fight AI is with AI, and and yeah, I wanted just to emphasize that.
That's great. That's great. Gal, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think in order to actually defend against that at scale, and um, we need like three major things. One is the visibility. Like you can protect what you can see, and AI is great to find what you don't know, and it was not possible before AI and agent. And this is where like Reco give you that the complete visibility across your SaaS ecosystem, and large, like at the end, most of the SaaS applications are exposed externally. In all other ecosystems like cloud and on-prem, we are trying to shrink the attack surface and don't expose them to the internet, but SaaS is by design in the internet. So getting this complete visibility is important, but not just discover them, but also secure them. You have a service that is exposed to the internet, um, and you don't uh, check the configuration. You just trust the vendor or even the business admin that they configure it correctly. So continuously monitor that, and especially now with AI, when there are a lot of features that pushed by vendors much faster, it's important um, to review the configs, to review the new configurations, to check like the MCP configs, and check that you enabled only what you need. So and continuously review that across your entire SaaS and where your data lives. Um, and the second thing is speed. I think it changed. Like um, AI attacks like move fast. At the end, they can run in parallel on different targets. In parallel, it's all about budget, and you don't need more people in order to run multiple attacks in parallel. And this is why you need to continuously add the coverage as you have more and more apps and your data move between apps. You need to secure your entire SaaS, not just 3 to 5 applications. And keep the pace is important for any security vendor and for any enterprise in order to secure that. And last thing is the context, the knowledge. Um, we use AI to fight AI, and this is where our knowledge graph is kind of AI ready, because we process billion of events, map the relationships, map the permissions, the privilege. On top of it, we add the AI agents to analyze everything from the alerts, from the permission, from the identity, the risk, and leveraging our behavioral detection to identify anomalies that happen due to a usage of AI agents during an attack.
Great, thank you so much. So just a few kind of takeaways from Ophir, who played the red team. AI, it's just a few takeaways. AI agents can execute 80-90% of what a sophisticated cyber attack autonomously. So just something to keep in mind about this new kind of era we're entering with AI orchestrated attacks. They operate at machine speed, which is also new. And the reason why they're targeting your SaaS apps is because that's obviously where your data lives. And they're just becoming more sophisticated and they're going to happen more often. From Gal's perspective, he was on the blue team. Just kind of reiterating what I think he so wisely said. The only way to fight AI is with AI. And Reco does provide that AI governance and also complete visibility into your SaaS apps, identities, data, the SaaS-to-SaaS connections, which are really prevalent in cyber attacks. And the AI-powered analysis that we provide can give you the context to respond really quickly. So as a next step, we would love to obviously discuss your SaaS security strategy with you further. Please reach out to us. We're passionate about this. We think this is a real problem, and we want to help. We also offer a free SaaS security assessment. So if there's a specific app, let's say Salesforce, that you would love to just have our experts assess, the risk level. We're happy to do that. There's no sales pitch involved. Again, we just want to help. So, I think the big, call to action here is, test your defenses now, see what you have in place now. Don't wait until, you're the victim in a cyber attack. So just really evaluate what you have in place now. And of course, we would love to, partner with you and be part of that. So thank you so much, Gal and Ophir. We've got a bunch of questions that came in. So I wanted to definitely leave some time for that. The one that came in, and this was Gal when you were demoing, so I definitely want to touch on this. When you were showing the graph, one participant asked, are we highlighting the risky applications in the graph? Maybe if you want to pull that up.
Yeah, so in the graph, we analyzed first the vendor risk, all the security info of each vendor. We have the large database with all the security info of each vendor, of each application, of each plugin, and we tied also the permissions that are acquired by the token to the SaaS app, and then we assess the risk combining like permission and vendor risk, and we let the customers to define what's needed and what's not. It can be a trusted vendor, but with overprivileged permission, such as delete contacts in Salesforce, which can delete all your Salesforce. But it's a trusted vendor, but they don't need this permission. So shrinking and getting least privilege access and analyze all the permission risk and the vendor risk together. We also integrate into like vendor risk management, such as security scorecard, Black Kite, and Bitsight, and customers can push the security rating of those solutions into Reco, into the list of vendors and applications.
Mhm. Great. Thanks so much, Gal. This is a really interesting question that just came in. What if the AI agent uses a legitimate admin account?
Yeah, so that's one of the most um, challenging threats because you let's say that you have a baseline and you analyze the all the activities of admins and those admins have patterns like they access to apps in certain time and they do the same type of activities. But when an admin account suddenly reset password and then 3 hours later bulk download 2,000 files from a new IP, this raise an alert and that that require investigation. And this is where also our identity agent um, came in and analyzed the activities, the patterns, and the alerts and trying to find some um, correlations between the different alerts in the time.
That's great. That's great. This question might be for Ophir. So, beyond what we just saw today, the different techniques from lateral movement, initial access, et cetera, what are the most common AI security risks that we're seeing in organizations today? Ophir, do you have some thoughts on that? What are just really common
Yeah,
risks?
for sure. So we focused on specific techniques here in the webinar, but if the question is to like what is most prevalent out there, then it really depends on what part of the AI are we talking about. Um, I don't wanna I don't know what is like most prevalent there, but we already see the threat of prompt injection and everything I mentioned regarding the reconnaissance is really out there.
That's great. Gal, any thoughts there? What are you seeing? That's like what's the most common?
That they yeah, I think it's the same as a fair match. There's no additional insight here. But there is
Yeah.
another question here.
Yeah. Would you see another one? Just came in. Yeah. Um, okay. So enterprises normally have a bounded boundaried environment. Would AI agents get to the point that are considered out of control? That's a great question.
Yeah, so I think we already did when this is out of control, to be honest. Now we are in a my opinion in an exciting time in the revolution with AI. But what's the value of AI? What's the value of agents for enterprises like to ask? What's the value of internet in 1997? We need to try. We need to try that. We need to use that, and this is what we started to see with enterprises that CEOs and board level said like, let's do a managed chaos. Use any AI tool. Use any agent to build your agents. Let's do an hackathon to build agents in the enterprise. Uh, and that's pushed from the board, from the CEOs, and from the market. And this is why we're already there. We're already out of control. And if you combine together the fact that SaaS is not controlled by the enterprise as usual on-prem or cloud, and it's exposed to the internet and it's interconnected. And on top of it, you add the agents that if you think about it, they also communicate between themselves, like the orchestrator agent send API calls to Salesforce, send API calls to HubSpot, send API calls to Slack, orchestrate everything together, and do actions on behalf of the user. Everything run outside your perimeter, and you don't have visibility and you're out of control. This is why it should start from what are the apps that you have, discover everything, discover the agent, and discover also the AI apps and the AI models that you use in order to secure that, in order to get back the control we had before this revolution.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Gal. This is a really interesting question about our detection. So I think I'm going to toss this question over to you first about our methodology. So how do we identify when an AI tool is accessing sensitive data in real time? Are we hooking into audit logs? Are we monitoring API traffic? Or what's our approach?
So we have multiple alerts running over across SaaS applications, and it really depends on what kind of sensitive access are we talking about. Are we talking about exfiltration of information? Are we talking about whether this file is sensitive or not? So it really depends on the detection itself. And the AI doing that is only half of the story. Let's say there's the part of gaining unauthorized access or unintended access to sensitive information, and there is the fact that AI did that. So the fact that AI did that, we do mostly by, as Gal mentioned, we already have a baseline of each identity and each user and how they usually behave. So the most basic example is time series analysis. So we know how many times does this user, for example, accesses files in Google Drive, and it's usually, let's say, 10 per day. So we set that when the number gets far from the average by a z-score of 3 or that many standard deviation, so we raise an alert. So this is like a good method to identify the fact that it's an AI agent and not a human, let's say.
Anything to add, Gal? Okay, great. Wonderful. Another question. This is really interesting. So this participant is asking about tracking and reporting on AI models or LLMs that are being used in their environment. So, for example, specifically, can Reco distinguish between, Claude versus Gemini versus, ChatGPT? Is that something where if they needed to report on that, Reco could provide that information?
Yeah, so because we integrate into more than 225 applications, and we integrate also to the SaaS apps, like integrate into the Anthropic Claude, to ChatGPT Enterprise, to ChatGPT, and to Gemini, Agentforce, and others. From the audit, we see what are the models that actually in use, and you can get this visibility of what are they using. And a good example for that when DeepSeek came out, we detected those shadow AI, shadow IT usage of DeepSeek because people registered to DeepSeek, started to use DeepSeek, download DeepSeek, and we've seen that as well.
Wonderful. Great. Last question. So, AI security is a very hot topic, and I know I'm personally speaking with a lot of, CISOs and security team members who are thinking through their strategy. Obviously, budget comes into play there. Which tools should they use? And there are a lot of different security tools out there that don't secure end-to-end all the use cases for AI, but have like a focus. Obviously, for Reco, we can discover and secure AI agents and apps with embedded AI. That's kind of our place. So if for CISOs who are thinking about where to allocate their budget, where should they start? Should they start with SaaS? Should they start with a different kind of slice of AI security? What would you recommend?
So I think it's first like depends on the the enterprise deployment and on the enterprise build. Like if you have like on-prem, big on-prem deployment or a big cloud deployment, you probably you want to ensure and verify that you set the boundaries that you can set. But then if you don't have cloud and you don't have on-prem and you're a modern company, and everything is SaaS and people work from everywhere, you need to start to understand what you have, what's in your estate in order to secure that. And once you get this visibility and you get the visibility into your system of records, where your data is, you can start to set the controls, set the boundaries, and the hardening the configuration of those apps to prevent data leakages, account takeover, and risk that now augmented with AI-based attacks.
I totally agree, and I think that the customization differs from each organization. So one should do a threat modeling for the organization needs. So, for example, if there are licenses for accepted LLMs to use, it's different from an organization that doesn't supply them. Then you need to monitor and check if users are using unsupervised or unauthorized LLMs. And also, if you're more worried about SaaS applications which have AI features in them and they might sprawl and do unexpected things, it's different than whether someone maliciously might get access to input to the AI tool and then get stuff which is unwanted. So because we are living in a limited resources world, every organization needs to prioritize and assess the tools based on his own needs and threats.
That was really well said. Any last kind of like takeaways, kind of advice? Again, you are both are experts in this area, and would kind of just love to hear if you have any kind of remaining takeaways.
So my most of the time when I read the report of Anthropic, and later on I read a lot of comments on that. So they all emphasize that there is no like novel technique here, and it's true. And that has a different point that we didn't speak about in this webinar, but it's maybe nice to mention, is that the basic stuff is even more important now. That you have detections that are not that noisy and they actually detect stuff, and that you have the tools in place that give you visibility, and that you have anything you need to actually manage your security is more important, because the threat is greater and the actors have more tools. Then you must arm yourself better, and you no longer have the privilege of having a lot of detections, or not that you had in the past, but you have even less now, to have detections which are noisy, a queue which is unmanageable, those things that we even more need to take care now.
Very, very well said. Gal, anything? Fight AI with AI? What's your kind of...
Yeah, I think it's exciting time, and it's like a revolution, and like any technology, there is a dual use, and we need to be ready for that. The same as we were not ready for the internet and cyber attacks. Here, we already know that there is a potential dual usage by threat actors and nation states with AI, and I think that this attack is an example of just the beginning. We probably don't know what are the attacks that are now running by agents. and
It's like
that's
the trailer for future attacks.
yeah,
It's a teaser.
The teaser. Yeah,
Like
that's
this is coming. This is the skeleton. This is the structure. Expect that. Get ready.
Mhm.
yeah, definitely.
Well, really appreciate Gal and Ophir your thoughts and everything. This is such an important topic. This is the new, frontier for cybersecurity. So it's really important for all of us to understand, have a solid understanding of this, and just start thinking of how we can detect and obviously respond to any of these incidents in the future. So thank you so much for your time and expertise, and thank you, to all of our participants and our guests today. Thanks for joining us. We host these monthly. This is our last product demo webinar for the year. So I hope all of you have enjoy your holidays and have a very happy new year. But we'll be back in January for our next product demo webinar. So thank you so much, and be well.
Thank you, Andrea.